Going to take our first question from Patrick Mulranen, Press of Atlantic City.
Hey, Sean, how are you?
Hey, Patrick, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Just want to ask you about three players, specifically going in the next season. Can you just talk about having, the return of, Bo Melton, obviously picking up that option for the extra availability, getting Pacheco back, for his senior season, two big offensive threats, and then the newcomer wide receiver Cornell Davis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're especially happy to have Bo back. I think your coach has mentioned it in some other conversations with you guys, but he's just such a tremendous practice player. So, when you have a guy that's a leader on the practice field and in the weight room, it's so easy for those guys who are trying to develop or trying to form their careers to have an example in front of their faces to follow, right? He's like a North Star to a certain degree. Extremely respectful, extremely hardworking. Very thankful that Taekwon Underwood has kind of been his right-hand man, because those two, the synergy between those two is really clear to see. And we're just thrilled to have him back. I love being around him, whenever I get the chance to be around him. So, and he's a productive player too, right? It'd be one thing if the kid was just a solid citizen and then didn't make any plays. We'd still value him, but the plays that he makes combined with the type of kid that he is, it's thrilling. Pacheco, I think that, another year in this offense and another year at Rutgers, is just going to be great for him and for our entire offense. So another one that I just love being around. He and I kind of are very emotional about football, and every time I get a chance to peek into his eyes, we got the same stuff cooking. So I'm happy to have him around. And Carnell is he's knee deep right now in figuring out, just like the rest of our newcomers, kind of figuring out the offense. But all those guys, the good news is they're very willing and they've got good teachers. So we're going to get them going. But yeah, I appreciate the question. Those three guys, and really a lot of guys on offense right now. Some good momentum on the heels of some progress that we made this past year, and we're just trying to keep that thing going in the right direction.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next question goes to Richie Schneiderite from Rivals.
Coach, obviously you guys didn't add a scholarship quarterback this recruiting cycle, but you did add one in Gavin Rupp. Can you talk a little bit about him and how he is as a recruit? And do you feel like you might need a quarterback every recruiting cycle? I know every coordinator has their own thoughts on that.
The coach makes all the calls in recruiting, as far as roster management. I'm thankful for that, because he's got years of experience in college, but obviously managed the roster really effectively in the NFL. There's you got to juggle a lot of balls, and scholarship allotments, and in the COVID world, how the rules are kind of evolving every single day. How many initials, how many scholarships do we have? I've been around a couple different places now, at least talked to some contemporaries in the country about scholarship management at the quarterback position. And the tough news is, and you can kind of read between the lines in some of these other places in other parts of the country, it's hard to be a backup in college football with the portal. Everyone wants to play. So the idea of carrying 4, 5, 6 scholarship quarterbacks on your roster, I think those days are over. I think that we have an advantage in that regard, because I think we do a great job recruiting our own players, right? We treat them great. We feed them really well. I think they feel like they're being coached hard and coached effectively. So we're going to retain a lot of our guys, but it'd be hard pressed to say that we're going to take 2 in a year. Or I believe, to my understanding, that we'll probably end up taking 1 a year. But if it means that we skip a year and we take a third walk on to kind of fill out some depth, the good news is we treat all those guys the same in our room. They all get developed. They all get coached. They all feel part of it. And Gavin's, excited to have him in the room coming up this cycle.
Gonna go to James Cratch, NJ.com.
Hey, Sean, I'll keep it on quarterbacks. What did you see from Art as the season progressed last fall? And did he show you enough against Maryland and Nebraska and Purdue to open things up with Noah as we get into spring practice for that job?
You will not be Coach Gleeson will not be starting your quarterback controversy in this phone call. But I appreciate the question. He did play well in moments, right? I think that was really helpful. We needed that win in Maryland and obviously in Purdue as well. He played great when his number was called. Noah's the starting quarterback right now. That doesn't mean that we're not evaluating it every single day, right? Whether it's the weight room or we get into spring football. I'm excited to get some reps at spring football with these guys. But I thought Art progressed really well. One of the things that'll be new for him as compared to Noah, for instance, Noah has played in a no-huddle offense in his career before, and this was kind of Art's first pass at that. And one of the things that we've beyond leadership, I think leadership is the biggest off-season goal out of all of our guys in the quarterback room. How do we lead our teammates? To the point about Bo before, how do we be a good example and all the things that are asked of us? But the second most important thing is how well do we operate the offense? So that's all the no-huddle functioning. We're watching the cut-ups just like everyone else in the country right now, and we wish to have a few back, particularly at the end of the year when Art was getting the reins of the car. You see a certain difference in the way that certain plays are snapped that we've got to see an improvement on for our offense to be successful.
Gonna go to Chris Eisman. Good night.
Hey, Sean, obviously with how strange the last year was and then the months leading into last season, I mean, how much of the offense were you able to kind of implement and install compared to now where you do have spring practices and you're going to have more time with the guys? I mean, how important is that going to be to kind of continue to install the offense?
Yeah, I don't think that we ever really held back in installation. When we think about like mentally forming these players, I think we did a great job in this technological space of teaching them. We got off the ground really, really quickly. I have vivid memories of that Friday before we left for spring break, kind of like stepping out into the unknown. We didn't know how these virtual meetings would go, but we learned how to kind of create what would be a whiteboard. We learned how to play video effectively. We different strategies for quiz taking and things of that nature. So I never felt like the mental side of it was really lagging. It was just, you'll see when you watch the cut-ups like I am now, as I mentioned before, there's just an execution that we'd like to kind of improve upon. So, sure, are we going to go and kind of maybe figure out what might be the best plays for our Big Ten opponents, some of the new coordinators in the league, of course. But, I really just think that the focus now needs to be on improving our execution, blocking better, running the correct routes, ball security, right? The ball is a huge part of what we do. We improved in some ways. I thought the defense did a really nice job with that as well. We can start lifting it a little bit ourselves, but I want to see us improve execution wise, and we'll come up with some good ideas. We always have good ideas. It's just, and I'd like to always steer the thing in the off season in the direction of our best people. So that might be, another goal of ours.
Next question goes to Chris Nowalski with Rivals.
Hey, Coach. It seemed like the offensive line was kind of up and down this past season. What did you see from the line, and what do you need to see from them going forward in terms of, getting better and stuff like that?
I think we're all kind of a work in progress. I wouldn't say that the O-line was any different than any other position group. Maybe there was the least amount of experience returning at that particular position group, but I thought Andy did an awesome job. Coach Art did an awesome job getting them kind of playing as a cohesive unit. There were some real good moments of growth throughout the course of the year. I think that one of the things that is always daunting is the wide receiver room and the O-line room have a lot of people in them. And there's just a lot of different personalities. There's a lot of indoctrination, the weight of the indoctrination offensively. For me, I can probably just pool all that into one guy and we would be okay, right? If I could just speak to one guy. It ain't that way when you coach the O-line. You got to have all five of those guys on the same page. So I think with just more exposure, more time with one another, those guys are going to just take a step forward. I think Andy's a tremendous coach, really, really bright, great communicator. Exactly a disciple of Coach Shiano would be as an assistant coach. So his years with Coach have served him well, and our O-line play is going to be an indication of his efforts as we go forward.
Gonna go to Bobby Darin, 24/7.
Sean, before you came, Rutgers had, I believe it was 10 offensive coordinators in the past 10 years. Just talk about the importance of that continuity of staying here. And I guess a lot of fans are worried that you might up and leave. What's your stance on the long term and being here in Rutgers? And I know you have New Jersey roots as well.
Yeah, all you had to do, like I think the first day I got here, Coach served up like an eggplant parm for lunch, and I hadn't seen eggplant parm in like 12 months. So I was fired up, to be back home, and I'm raising my family here. We're really happy. I think the more important retention is all of our offensive assistants as well. So, Taekwon mentioned to me the other day how fun it's been installing this offense with the young guys, now having a year under his belt. And, I think that whenever you can kind of keep the band together, so to speak, and not have to worry about kind of getting other people up to coordination, I think that you're in good shape.
Take our next question from Fuj.
Hey, Coach Gleeson. I have some good chicken parm up here northwise if you want me to send it down.
Yeah, send it, man. Send it down.
I was just wondering, I know that you guys had some incredible gain from your offense last year, considering the time you had with them, but just the tight end position, how you see it evolving and growing.
First off, I think something needs to be said about the guys that joined this team as transfers, newcomers last year in a really weird year, right? Like, the Noah Vedrils of the world, the Giovanni Haskins of the world, the Aaron Cruikshanks of the world. There's really no roadmap to like being in a new place with a pandemic thrown at your feet. And Giovanni is a guy who played a ton of football for us and was just kind of like a mainstay on the field at all times and really, really performed well. We asked him to put his hand in the ground a little bit more than he had in other parts of his career, but he flourished, and he's going to continue to because he's really coachable. But like even you see the growth in Coach Nuns' room, with Matt Alimo and obviously Victor Konopka and all the other guys that are in amongst that room. We get down near the goal line and Johnny goes in at quarterback, and we've got 4 of those guys on the field. Probably the most critical situations of some of those games. So I'm really happy with those guys, as well as just the general work ethic and compliance of all these guys.
We'll take 2 final questions. We'll go to Aaron Brightman on the banks and then end with James Cratch. I think we might have lost Aaron. So, James?
Sean, I'm just curious, what do you think the next step for your offense is? It was the best offense Rutgers has had in a long time, but you still were last in yards for playing the Big Ten. I mean, what do you think the next step is for this group?
Yeah, to be quite honest, James, I just want to win. Whatever we have to do to win. So I know yards per play and points per possession, and I like the statistics as much as anyone else. But we just got to keep winning, and what that means is, Coach talks about it, we got to have a bigger number than the other team. So we're going to play complementary football. I think we have really smart coaches and we have hardworking kids. I think this, the points are going to come as long as we just stay the course. But ultimately, we're just trying to do what we can to win games in this really tough league and take Rutgers to another level. There's the human nature battle right now. We did some good things, but in the grand scheme of things, there's a lot of room for improvement. So who do you want to listen to? You want to listen to everyone who's telling you that you're back for a second year, Coach Gleeson. They haven't had much retention at your position, or you scored more points in the Big Ten than they have in a long time. Well, if we listen to those things and we don't take steps forward, then I'm not sure we're going to have the growth that we want. So I'm pretty sure Coach Shiano is going to head our team in the right direction as it relates to work. And we just got to kind of follow his lead and get this thing going.
Aaron, if you're still there, I'll let you get the last question.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Coach, wanted to ask, trick plays were featured a bit last season. It's part of your picture philosophy and how it speaks to the ability to utilize personnel based on the matchups you have week to week.
I heard a little bit about trick plays and then heard a little bit about using our personnel to be successful. I think that I'm a pretty organized guy, and I've done a lot of work as it relates to like how much offense we should bring into a game, and that's trick play related as well. So we're always going to have those things on the call sheet. I think that they're just staples, just in the same way that you'd carry a third and medium play or a certain number of goal line plays. We don't want to ever have too much or too little of something, because I think it relates to the burden that's on your players as they go into a game. You don't want them studying like madmen and then obviously not using the things that you're learning about or practicing on the practice field. So we try to take a balanced call sheet into the game. That's years of research that I've done and as to what should be contained in those game plans. But tricks are no exception to that. And I try to not refer to them as trick plays. They're just football plays. They still award you points if you score a touchdown on a trick play or if you score on a handoff. So it's just we're trying to put points on that scoreboard. And like I said before, one of the nice things about not feeling crunched for time is this time of year you can really continue to evaluate who on your team deserves to play and how can you shape the offense in that direction as the best weatherman that you can be, forecasting who needs to be on the field and at what percentage.
Great, Coach Gleeson. Thank you for the time. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
guys. Great seeing you.